ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। We are starting with chapter 10, the lesson self-analysis. As we saw, part B consists of what is known as practical Vedanta. So we started with human composition, going into the chapter of self-analysis, from them to the states of consciousness, to the 4 yogas, meditation, 4 yogas, renunciation, meditation, self-realization. We'll see that uh, chapters progressing in that sequence. So currently we are going to study the chapter self-analysis. Spiritual path, spiritual progress, development of a person is a subjective phenomenon. Therefore, rather than analyzing about the world, we start analysis of one's own self. We do not analyze about the object. We do not discuss about the object. We discuss about the subject. The subject meaning the individual, the you, for which the chapter is self-analysis. I read a few from the book and then we'll see the explanation. Chapter 10, self-analysis, inquiry into yourself. Yourself is pure consciousness. You are the supreme reality. Spiritual pursuit culminates in the self. You discover yourself by turning introvert. Through inquiry into yourself, you must gradually wade through your body, mind, and intellect, your gross, subtle, and causal bodies to reach the divine core of your personality, to gain the bliss of self-realization. But the human tendency is to be extrovert. Instead of seeking the self within, people pursue the external world for pleasure, joy, and knowledge. They get involved in mundane affairs, and the mind becomes restless, agitated. The intellect loses its clarity to inquire into the essence of life. The divine law of life is that you shall be pure, free from mental agitation and suffering. Your true self is ever peaceful and blissful. But when you stay away from the self and run after the world, you will be inflicted with pain and suffering. Sow the wind, you reap the whirlwind. The law is unrelenting. Therefore, try to diagnose the cause of agitation and grief. Get to the root of your problems. Go deeper into the inner layers of your personality. You may want to consult the scripture. Take guidance from a preceptor. With all that, you must get on to your own reflection and contemplation. You will then find out there is there is but one fundamental source for sorrow, one cause for evil and misery in the world. That is, appetites are the unfulfilled remove meditation and mind and intellect. Realize you are the kernel, not the shell. Turn introvert and gain the knowledge of self. You then liberate yourself from all agitation and attain enduring peace and bliss. Yourself is the theme of all religions. Preceptors and preaching can help you find it unless you inquire into yourself. External sources of knowledge can only set you thinking, but you must make good use of the scriptural knowledge by engaging your intellect to reflect independently upon the truths therein. Do not sell your liberty of reflection to spiritual personalities, regardless of their merit. You must seek the truth yourself. The God lies within you. Remove the veil of ignorance and reveal and revel in the supreme bliss that lies within. Not realizing your inherent wealth, you try in vain to find peace and joy in the external world. So the American philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson rightly quipped, every man is a divinity in disguise, a god playing the fool. Religious books and discourses on their own cannot bring about spiritual development in you. The knowledge contained in the scripture can make you a well-informed person. But for spiritual transformation, you need to put in considerable effort in reflection and contemplation upon the knowledge received. Lectures from masters will be of no avail unless you are prepared to lecture yourself. Lord Krishna pronounces this truth in his oft-quoted words. You must raise yourself by yourself. This is the first chapter. Oh, okay. I didn't realize. Is the audio okay?
If you talk little loudly or if you increase your volume, it may be okay. When you talk little loudly, it's okay.
Oh, okay.
கொஞ்சம் வால்யூம் உங்க சைடுல வால்யூம் கொஞ்சம் இன்க்ரீஸ் பண்ணா சரியா இருக்கும்னு நினைக்கிறேன். தெரியல.
Okay. Yeah, I will shout. அது ஒரு 10 நிமிஷம் ஆறுது வார்ம் அப் ஆறதுக்கு இல்லையா, கொஞ்சம் இல்லையா, மூஞ்சி எல்லாம் பார்த்தாக்கா பிபி எகிரினதுக்கு அப்புறமா வாய்ஸ் வில் ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்கலி இல்லையா, வாய்ஸ் வில் ரைஸ் ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்கலி. புக்கை பார்க்கும்போது சாஃப்ட் ஆயிடுறது. You see the book, it goes soft. You look at the face, it becomes loud. So, what is self-analysis? Self-analysis is knowing what you want, knowing what you are seeking, and understanding what is stopping it, what is preventing it. This is self-inquiry. One is to know who you are, what is it that you are seeking. Second is what is it that is preventing it. And then comes the methodology of how to get over it. These are the things that we have to discuss now. So, first thing here in self-inquiry, he is saying, who are you first? When we studied the human composition, it was very clear that we have that 3 bodies. When we studied the human composition, it was very clear that we have gross, subtle and causal bodies. We are made up of these panchakoshas and all that. Having studied all that, the conviction is I am body, mind, intellect unit. I am that body, mind, intellect complex. I am that body, mind, intellect stuff. I am that gross, subtle, and causal bodies. In self-analysis, what he is saying is, that is what you think you are, but you are not that. You assume you are that. You may think you are that. You have, because of you having identified with it, you have come to think you are that. But the truth is, the reality is you are not that. That divine law is, you shall be pure. You have to be pure. You are pure, in fact. You are pure. Pure means free from all worries and anxieties. Free from all worries and anxiety is what purity is all about. What is it that is making you not recognize that purity? What is it that is making you not realize your purity? The root of it, he has said it very clearly in the second the second paragraph. The source, one cause for evil and misery is ignorance. One cause for evil, one cause for misery, one cause for all worry and anxiety in this world is ignorance. One of the most difficult step in the spiritual path is to recognize ignorance as the source of all disease. That is the most difficult thing, to recognize that. Once you have recognized that, or once you have digested and understood that, rest becomes relatively easy. But the step the difficult step to cross is in understanding the fact that one problem. What is it? Ignorance. Ignorance being the problem, knowledge becomes the solution. If ignorance is the cause for all the problem, then it is proven, then it is understood that knowledge becomes the solution. So, first thing that you have to understand here, that he is saying is, ignorance is the source of all problem. There is this unrelenting law of life. There is this unrelenting law of life. Whenever you identify with the body, mind, intellect component, you agree, disagree, you like it, you don't like it, you understand, you don't understand, you accept, you don't accept. The unrelenting law is this: agitation, grief, shoka, like in the case of Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, depression, vishada. This will be the inevitable result. That cannot be changed. This would be the inevitable result because of your wrong identification. Now he is trying to explain what has caused this wrong identification. What has caused this wrong identification? The extroverted nature. The extroverted nature. What is extroverted nature means? Extroverted nature means, number one, I am in need of support. Understand this. Extroverted nature means your conviction that I am in need of support. Number two, that support can come only through the external world. This is extroverted nature. I repeat, extroverted nature means the notion that you have about your own self. I am in need of support. Support for what? Support for the mental equanimity. I am in need of and support for the mental equanimity, and that mental equanimity can come only through the external. It can come only from the external world. Since you are so convinced that you are in need of support and that support can come only from the external world, helplessly you will be an extrovert only. This is ignorance. What is ignorance here? Number one, I am in need of support. Number two, world can provide that support. Are you able to follow? One is to say I am in need of support. Second is the conviction that only the world can give that. Only the world can give support. So as long as you believe that the world alone can give you support, you will be helplessly chasing the world only. Support means your mental balance, your mental equanimity is dependent on things outside. This is what support means. Support means your mental equanimity is dependent on factors external. What is that external factor? The external factor is, for body, it is the perception and action. For emotion, pampering and being catered by the world. For intellect, more and more information, more and more knowledge. Again I repeat, for senses it is, for the body, the senses, it is perception and actions. For the mind, it is emotions. For the intellect, more and more of new information. Something that keeps tickling you, something that is all the time new. Now, these are the things that can keep you stable, peaceful, happy, and because of the conviction that these are the things that is going to keep you stable, peace, and happy, what you do? You run behind this is called extroverted nature. What is extroverted nature? Extroverted nature is a conviction that peace, security, and happiness comes from the world. Extroverted nature means peace, security, happiness comes from the external world. Vedanta, you can keep talking. How much ever Krishna can say what he wants to say, how much ever Buddha can say what he wants to say, you don't know, sir. 8 o'clock, you come to us, we will tell you. How? After 8 o'clock, we will have a separate discourse. You listen to us, you don't speak. Yeah, you don't speak, you shut up and you listen to us. Then you will know how peace, security, and happiness comes only from the world. Full stop. You can say whatever you want. Let Krishna can say whatever he wants. This extroverted nature, if you have, unrelenting law of life is, the unrelenting law of life is agitation, grief, worry, anxiety, all that. Why do we talk about the agitation and grief and anxiety and all that? Is because irrespective of what you have, there is an insecurity. Irrespective of what you have, there is an insecurity. It's not that the street dog, if it feels insecure, it is understandable. The street dog, if it feels insecure, it is understandable. The person sitting in the air-conditioned room is feeling He's feeling insecure. So there is this insecurity. Now, what is mental agitation means? What causes mental agitations? This notion that this feeling, this experience of, number one, insecurity. Number two is lack of mental peace. Number three, happiness. So peace, security, and happiness can come from the external world only. Is ignorance, is the cause for extroverted nature. Now, what is ignorance here? Ignorance is the notion that only that can give you. How do you counter that? How do you understand that? Remember, every other week or every few weeks, I keep giving this reference formula, because that is the formula. You miss that formula, you will be in ignorance. The formula is verse number 16, 17, chapter 2. Nasato vidyate bhavaha, nabhavo vidyate satah, ubayorapi drishtontaha, tanayos tattvadarshibhihi, anayoho tattvadarshibhihi. Those, the knowers of tattva, the knowers of truth, know this, Arjuna, he says. What is this extroverted nature? This misunderstanding that a peace can come from an impermanent factor. Security can come from an impermanent factor. Happiness can come from a changing factor. This is ignorance. A permanent happiness can come from a constantly changing phenomena. A permanent happiness can be got. Nityatvam can come. Permanency can come. Stability can come from that which is impermanent by nature. In Bhajagovindam, he says, Kalaha. Time loots away everything, he says. Time loots away everything. Yavvana Garvam. He talks about the pride of youth, the pride of wealth. Harati Nimeshat Kalas Sarvam. The pride of youth, the pride of everything, the pride of knowledge, everything. Time loots away everything. Time in the sense of changing. So, what is ignorance now? What is ignorance now? Hoping to gain something permanent from that which is intrinsically impermanent. Hoping to get permanent security, hoping to get a permanent peace, hoping to get permanent happiness. From that which is intrinsically temporary. Now, you go deeper. What is ignorance? Having misunderstood that temporary to be permanent is the only cause for all shoka. Having misunderstood or having taken the temporary to be permanent. Temporary can give only temporary experience. Again, I repeat, the temporary can give you only temporary experience. That is why the temporary experiences of sukha and dukkha. Sukha comes, happiness comes. At the time you know what it is, the happiness goes. Okay, if happiness doesn't go, you are bored. You say, I am bored. Yeah. everything is more or less stable, everything is more or less all right, the person says, I am very bored, sir. There is no challenge at all. The moment the challenge comes, anxiety and tension and worry and all comes, and then the person wants, stability. Stability comes, that person gets bored. When challenge comes, the person becomes anxious. And then there is this thing called optimistic thinking, positive thinking, and all that. No. And then there is this thing about optimistic thinking, positive thinking, and there is so much of people who tell you have to challenges is that which makes life. The beauty of life is the blah blah blah, and that you hear all that is very good to give as a discourse to somebody, but when it comes to your life, it doesn't apply. A motivational speaker is so demotivated because nobody is willing to listen to him. Yeah, he's a very good motivational speaker, but he's so depressed, sitting in depression. Why? Because nobody is willing to listen to him. Now he needs motivation. Now he has to be motivated. Now it's a vicious cycle. What we are trying to say is it turns into a vicious cycle. What is a vicious cycle? Hoping that permanent, the temporary can give you permanent happiness. This is ignorance, and this is the source of all human problems, he says. Understanding the permanent as permanent and understanding the temporary as temporary is knowledge. According to Vedanta, knowledge means understanding the temporary as temporary and understanding the permanent as permanent is knowledge. It means you need to constantly lecture to yourself. That's how we concluded this one. It means you have to constantly lecture to yourself about this. Listening to lectures from somebody outside beyond a point is very ineffective, very frustrating, very boring. They keep coming back to the same two three points and Tamil சொல்ற மாதிரி அரச்சமாவே அரைக்கிறதுன்றது இல்லையா. They keep talking about the same thing again and again and again. Why can't you talk something new? Why can't you talk something original? Why can't you talk something fresh? பேசணும்னா world is real னு சொல்லணும். அதுதான் fresh இருக்கும். It will be very nice to hear. You cannot say that. You can't say world is permanent. It's the world and world can give you happy. You can't say all that. You have to keep saying that it is temporary. It is temporary. And this temporary aspect has to be constantly reflected upon. What in Sanskrit he calls as Nitya Anitya Viveka Vichara. Nitya Anitya Viveka Vicharam. The constant inquiry as to the eternal and the ephemeral. The constant inquiry into that which is temporary and that which is permanent. And you need to distinguish between the two. Now, your worry and anxiety has no meaning because temporary is changing. Your worry and anxiety has no meaning because the nature of the temporary is to change and you can't worry about it. Number one. Number two, neither the permanent will go through any modification. So even if you identify with any one of this, you are free from sorrow. The unrelenting law, we don't understand it as a law. That is the problem. Law means you have to obey that. You can't. Why? Because we are the lawmakers, no? Since we are the lawmakers, why we will respect that? We don't understand that there are certain laws of life which we have to. Yeah. Tower 180 towers building katnar. There are certain laws which we have to, which we are a part of, which we have to necessarily obey. We have no exception from that. We don't understand it as a law. We always think that we have laws are like how we make our law. No, we make a law and then we immediately have one. We have a law and we immediately have an amendment also. Yeah. We have a law and we have an amendment. We have a law and then we and suddenly 10 fellows will stand together and say we don't agree to this law. We don't believe in this law. Change it, and we will immediately change it, and all will clap and say, wow, we are all very liberal. We are all very liberal people. Man-made laws are temporary. It also fits under that is why it keeps amendment after amendment. You can keep on changing. The law of life is not like a man-made law. The law of life is, law means Sasanam, Vidhi. You are bound by it. You are bound by it. You have no exception from that. That's what the word law means. The word law means, again I am repeating, the word law means you have no exception. Not only you, nobody is exempt. Nobody has an exception from this law. Man-made laws are that which keeps changing, and we are so used to law that man-made laws on the suddenly we can say Mount Road is one way in one direction. Next morning we can say one way in the opposite direction. We can tamper with the law, but here he says the law is unrelenting. Recognizing that there is a law and you are bound by that law itself is turning introvert. Again I repeat, recognizing that there is a law and you are bound by that law and you have to obey that law. You have to obey that law. But obeying a law, obedience is seen as against my natural, against my birthright. What is my birthright? Freedom. Freedom to do whatever you want. Please remember, if the freedom is given to do whatever you want, the same freedom will be given to. Are you able to follow this? If you want the freedom to do what you want, that same freedom will be given to the opponent also. So when that same freedom, if you have that freedom, the opponent also has that freedom, and when these two interact, what will be the quality of interaction? What will happen? One will stab another, one will kill another, or one will somehow try to make the other the slave. It's not only because it's not only your freedom. No, if you say, don't I have the freedom, sir? I said, yeah, you have the freedom means the thief also has his. The thief also has his freedom. No. Then you say, no, sir, freedom is not like that. Freedom within Freedom within a boundary. Freedom within a discipline. And the discipline will be according to, and that boundary, who will decide that boundary? And who will decide that boundary? We will decide that boundary. Yeah. We will decide that boundary according to our, we will decide that boundary according to our conveniences, preferences, likes and dislikes. This nature is extroverted nature, and the consequence of such nature is unrelenting. The consequence of such nature is unrelenting. What is the consequence of such nature? The consequence of such nature is always there is a fear. Insecurity is nothing but fear. Insecurity is a very refined way of saying insecurity feels like as though it looks like a wonderful thing. No. Insecurity is just a refined way of saying you live in fear. Yeah. What is the fear? Before acquiring, will I acquire? Will I get it? Will I get it? Will I get it? After getting, how to? After getting, how to protect it? Because predators are there. Yeah. The lion will attack and kill the prey. The wild dogs, the hyenas will come steal the. Now, not only it has to attack and kill that, it has to attack the hyenas and other things. So you, as long as you don't have it, they will not come to you. The moment you have it, predators will come to. Okay, even if there are no predators, you keep it in the safe. Yeah, and only you know the password. Nobody knows the password. Nobody can steal it from you. Still there is the fear. What is the fear? The fear of password, because in case you forget that password, you write the password somewhere and keep, somebody might see that. So, right through, not having it is one kind of fear, having it is another kind of fear. Old age is for 20, 30 years, sir. Childhood and teenage is only for few years. Yeah. Imagine teenage for 40 years. And old age only for 3-4 years. Now, how good it will be, no? Imagine infancy for 40 years of infancy and only 3 years of, or only 1 year of old age. How nice it would be. But then 1 or 2 years of infancy and 60-70 years of, yeah. As you get old, you have to be more careful also. Yeah. You know why? Because others will decide whether you have to be in the ventilator or not. Others will decide whether how much you have to suffer, and they will ensure that you suffer right till the end, and then only you will die. Yeah. That might as well that fellow would have medication. I'm not saying don't do all that. Please do whatever you have to do. How much we try to do things in the name of wanting to overcome the suffering, but ends up suffering more. Why it is? Because of not having this clarity. What is the clarity? The clarity of that what is the source of all the problem? What is it that I want? What is it that I want? If this is what I want, am I seeking it in the right place? Last, I conclude and then I'll go to the next topic. Because you know only the world, you keep searching there. Because you do not know anything other than the world, you keep searching only in the world. For this, the Upanishad gives an example. The lady having lost the needle in the house, searching for it in the street. The lady have lost the needle in the house and she is searching for it in the street. And the man of, why are you searching it here? What a question you are asking. Light you can search. The needle is lost inside the house, and the house is dark inside. How can you search in the dark? Therefore, logically, start searching where there is light. Hope one day you will get the needle, and that needle you will never get. Why? Because you have lost it at some place and searching for it in some other place. This is ignorance. Where you have lost it, you have to search. You have not lost it in the world so that you can search it and get it from the world. You have not lost it in the world. That is why we are so concerned about searching in the world, because that is the only thing that is known. That is the only thing that is known to you. Since you know only the world, you have no choice but to search in the world, like that old lady searching for the needle in the street light when it is lost inside the house. Therefore, self-analysis as a chapter is very important to locate where you have lost it. Where you have lost it, you need to understand that you have lost it, no? And what is it? That is ignorance. That is ignorance. And any amount of listening to this from external sources will be of not much help. You need to do it within. You need to do it within yourself. That is why he says, lecture to yourself. Lecturing to one's own self is reflection. This is reflection. Lecturing to others is waste of breath. Lecturing to others is waste of breath, literally. Lecturing to yourself is helpful. Inga kuda we want to lecture to, even here we want to lecture to others only. As soon as the class is over, immediately, you know what he said in the class today? Very, very interesting. Very, very useful. And I'm just sharing knowledge with others, sir. Is it wrong to share knowledge with others? Still the focus is extrovert only. Therefore, he says, locate where is the source of it. The source of it is inside you. Since the source of it is inside you, the process of study and analysis has to start from you only. Therefore, it is self analysis, and you need to follow the method of lecturing to yourself. And the self is of two. The self is the combination of two. What is the combination of two? We have seen this any number of times. Human being equals spirit plus what is the other one? Matter. Human being equals spirit plus matter. Matter is the visible. The spirit is the invisible. The matter is visible. The spirit is invisible. And the purpose of life is to move from the visible to the invisible. Shifting the attention from the visible to the invisible is the purpose of knowledge, the purpose of life, Vedanta. It means this is what is known as moving from extrovert to introvert. This is what is known as extrovert to introvert. And also what it means is this. Also what it means is your attention is no more upon the world. Why your attention is no more upon the world? Because you have understood it as temporary, and if you are being satisfied with temporary, go into the world. If you want anything permanent, you need to get back to yourself. Ask yourself this question. If you can be peaceful and happy and satisfied with temporary changing, you can be comfortable with the world. But you can never be comfortable with the world in that way. Can never be comfortable. Why? Because the very change itself is very frustrating. Therefore, move from extrovert to introvert. And I have said this any number of times. The way in which the word introvert and extrovert is used here is a special meaning, not in the way that introvert and extrovert is used today. In today's context, it's exactly the opposite meaning. To be an introvert is bad, to be an extrovert is good. The words, and don't get carried away by the words. The concept is this. Ignorance is the source of problem, and this ignorance is in you. It means you need to do self-analysis and locate where it is. Having located where it is, then you can see what you can do to get over that. This is the first topic in the chapter 10, self-analysis, inquiry into yourself. Now I am reading the second topic. The second topic is yourself is supreme reality. The problem facing humanity today is that none wants to look within oneself. People are enchanted by the fascinations of the external world. They do not find the need to go introvert. Vedanta cautions them that there is no peace and happiness in the sense objects or beings or anything that the world can offer. They claim that their personal experience belies this statement and dismiss the caution as baseless. The intelligentsia argue their sense organ enjoy the sense objects, that their eyes gain pleasure from sight, ears gain from sound, nose from smell, tongue from taste, and skin from touch. So does the mind contact and experience the joy of emotion, and the intellect revel in acquiring knowledge in the world. Their argument seems tenable. They are convinced that they perceive the pleasure and joy in the world and personally experience it. Nevertheless, Vedanta maintains that there is no pleasure or peace in the world. It bids you examine your conviction closely. You will then find the truth of its statement. The error in the conviction of the intelligentsia is akin to professing that the moon has light in it. On a moonlit night, you see the light emerging from the moon. The moon, a 384,400 kilometers away, shedding its brilliant light over the earth. You use it to find your way. You enjoy the moonlight. By virtue of your experience, you aver there is light in the moon. And yet, you will appreciate the moon has no light in it. It has only arid land and dust. You would know that when you approach it, when you reach it. The light that you see from afar is reflected light. The moon merely reflects the light of the sun. Similarly, the world has no happiness inherent in it. The pleasure and joy you seem to get out of the world is a reflection of the bliss of yourself. The self in you is all blissful. The supreme bliss is reflected the world over in every object and being, in every perception, emotion, and thought. You see pseudo bliss and run after it. When you get close and actually encounter it, you become disillusioned. No wonder the wealthy confess that there is no peace and happiness in wealth. The powerful, with all the power, also find themselves duped and disappointed. So it is with any worldly acquisition and enjoyment. Therefore, the way to ride over the monotony and misery of the world, to find everlasting peace and happiness, is to pursue and reach the source. Discover the self within you, the nucleus of true happiness. A prince approached a sage reverentially to learn about God. A conversation ensued. Prince, venerable master, who is God? Where is he? How can I reach him? Sage, may I know who you are? Prince, my name is Gajapati. Sage, I appreciate that is your name, but tell me who you are. Prince, I am a prince. Sage, is that not your status? Yes, it is. I guess I am just a human being. Sage, you say you are a human, not a bead or not a bird or beast, but that is the species to which you belong. You have not yet told me who you are. The prince then realized that he was going round in circles and did not really know who he was. So, with all humility, he spoke again. Prince, am I then this body, mind, and intellect which define my person? Sage, nay, not so. They are your material equipments. They too belong to you. The answer left the prince bewildered, and he submitted himself to the master. Prince, sir, I now reckon I do not know myself. Kindly let me know who am I, and how does that relate to my inquiry of God? Dear Prince, you are the Supreme Self, the divine core of your person. The body, mind, and intellect are mere vestures enveloping yourself. The self is known as Atman in Sanskrit, God in English. You will have to find the self within through introspection, through study, reflection, and meditation. Vedanta helps reveal the Supreme Self in you. You then realize your infinite being, that which keeps you performing countless deeds. You move every muscle in the body. You cause each hair to grow. You eat. You produce the digestive juices in the stomach. You digest the food taken in. You distribute the digested food in every part of the body. You evacuate the waste. You operate the nerves. You feel emotions. You think various thoughts. These go on and on all your life. God is therefore the primal source of all activity, the supreme self which assumes the three forms of the waker, dreamer, and deep sleeper. The infinite power that operates in your personality is the same that operates everywhere, that enlivens the entire animal and plant world as well. The self, same power that causes the sun to shine, earth to revolve, rivers to flow. That supreme power is known as Atman in the microcosm and Brahman in the macrocosm. Atman and Brahman are one and the same. Reality that is the omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent God, your divine self. I just read through it because it is so wonderful. Don't want to take a break in between. Conversation between Yajnavalkya and Maitreyi is this. This is what, this is the entire chapter. This is the entire analysis that happens. We have referred it quite a few times in the Upanishad, where the conversation between the husband and the wife, Yajnavalkya and Maitreyi, that's what this entire topic is all about. The world has no inherent happiness in it. In the Brihadaranyaka, which is the law, which is what he has written here. The self, the mantra says, I'm not saying the Sanskrit mantra, I'm only giving the English meaning of it. The self is not dear for the sake of the self, but for the sake of the wife is not dear for the sake of the wife, but for the sake of the self, the wife. There is no happiness inherent in the world. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says it so beautifully. The wife is not dear for the sake of the wife, but for the sake of the self in the wife. The son is not dear for the sake of the son, S-O-N, not S-U-N. The son is not dear for the sake of the son, but for the sake of the self in the son. The daughter is not dear. He goes on and on and on. And finally he concludes by saying, extraordinary mantra it is, which is what we are discussing now. And this self is known, Maitreyi, through Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. Shravana Manana Nididhyasanatvam. This self is known only through that. Shravana Manana and Nididhyasana. That's what he concludes, the sage concludes by saying, through study, reflection and meditation. Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. The Shravana Manana Nididhyasana is the method by which you gain this understanding. First is Shravana. Shravana means listening to it from the scripture. And then reflecting over what is said in the scripture. Reflecting over what is said in the scripture, because lot of doubts comes. What is the doubt? The fundamental doubt. The fundamental doubt is this. Sir, in English, from your own experience, sir, Vedanta, keep it aside. When you eat a chocolate, happiness kadaikalaya ungalku. Is there not a happiness? Yeah. Mango, is there not a happiness? Chili, is your tongue not burning? Is your stomach not upset? Let them keep saying what they want to say. Is not our experiences proving exactly the opposite of what they are saying? This is the first doubt and the only doubt. Further doubts. This is the first doubt and the only doubt, and the last doubt to go is this only. Doubts, doubts, not all. This is the only doubt. What is the doubt? You perceive the pleasure and joy in the world, and I have personally experienced it. How can you come and say that there is no pleasure and happiness in the world? Because my experience proves the opposite. I read a new book, I hear a new sentence. Here, in the class, ஏதாவது ஒரு புதுசா ஒரு சென்டென்ஸ் சொன்னா it is so stimulating, no? Yeah. Immediately you want to make a immediately you want to make a note. Rest எல்லாம் இதெல்லாம் சொல்லினே இருக்கிறது தான். இதெல்லாம் பரவாயில்ல, இதெல்லாம் எவ்வளவு வாட்டியோ கேட்டாச்சு. There is nothing new in all this. So there is a pleasure in gaining. There is a pleasure in gaining knowledge. There is a pleasure. There is a pleasure in emotion. What is the emotion? Somebody pays attention to you. There is a happiness. Somebody ignores you. There is a pain. Yeah, you are experiencing it. How can you say that there is no joy, happiness from the world? Also the senses. I started with the senses and then went on to the intellect, and then I came to the mind. I was just jumping all over the place. So your experience says world gives happiness. It is temporary, sir, but happiness kudukarudundradha you can't deny. Okay, we agree with you that it is temporary. Number rendu perum agreement ku varalam. What is agreement? Mutual agreement. We will sign. What? You are also correct. We are also correct. How are you correct? It is temporary. You are correct. Where are we correct? It gives us happiness. Just as we agree to you, why can't you agree with us is the difficulty. For which Vedanta says, examine your conviction closely. You are thinking like this, you are convinced like this because you have not gone deeper into the analysis. You have not gone deeper into the knowledge and understanding. If you have gone deeper into the knowledge and understanding, you will be convinced that reflected happiness, you are misunderstanding it to be happiness inherent in it. Again, I repeat, if you analyze deeper, you would understand that reflected happiness is what the object and being has. I have misunderstood that it has happiness inherent in it. This is the Upanishad. Wealth is not dear for the sake of the wealth, but for the sake of the self in the wealth. Everything, he takes up each and everything. The number of times he repeats, we will get bored. Yeah. Like Tattvamasi, he repeats. The number of times he repeats Tattvamasi, we get, okay, sir, we have heard. At the topic, Pola. We have Tirupati, why are you repeating the same thing? Beautiful. How many times he repeats it? And then he gives a formula. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana comes from the same chapter, comes from the same portion. By saying there is no happiness in anything in the external world. That happiness in the external world is a reflected happiness. You can know it through Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. No, sir. First to prove it, then I will do Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana is the mistake. Are you able to follow now? You say, first to prove it, then I will sign up for Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. இப்போல்லாமே அப்படிதான் இல்லையா? Before even studying, before even joining the college, that fellow has to show how many places he has given employment. The college la படிச்சவனுக்கு எவ்வளவு employment இருக்குன்னு prove ஆனாதான் you will even go to that. You will even go to that. Yeah. It doesn't work that way, is what he said. It will not work, or it may work in the world, it may work there, but here it doesn't work. So what they do, again, it's not that they ask you to digest it, they ask you to swallow it. They give lot of reason and analysis. They give lot of logic and reason and analysis to give an intellectual conviction. And once you have developed this intellectual conviction, you can from Shravana to Manana, reflection, and then from Manana to meditation. What is meditation? Meditation is nothing but keeping the mind in a place. That's all meditation is. Keeping the mind in a place. If the mind has to be kept in a place, lot of preparation is required. Mind will not be in a place. Yeah, mind cannot be in a place. Lot of preparation is required for that. Once this Shravana and Manana and Nididhyasana is done, you will understand what yourself is supreme reality. The example that he has given here is a very beautiful example. The person experiencing moonlight. The person experiencing the joy of moonlight. When the person is experiencing the joy of moonlight, and then you go and tell that person that there is no light in the moon, he will say you don't know what you are talking. And yet the truth is there is no light in the moon. For the only source of light is the sun. All other light is reflected. It is only reflected. Pseudo. There are a few analyses now. I am not going to start that analysis now. I'm so tempted to start, but then I said no, it's already very tiring and it's already end of the session. So starting it and leaving it halfway doesn't work. I'm going to do the how the Shastras has analyzed to say that it is pseudo light next week. The analysis I will start next week. For today, understand it as the moonlight example. You can't rely on your experiences. That's what he said. Your experiences are not the reliable source. If your experiences are the reliable source, if your experiences are the only reliable source to decide it, moon has light in it. He says, no, moon doesn't have light. A person who has studied that much alone would be able to understand. A person who has not studied, how can you prove it to him? Only by taking him to the moon. Clear? Only by taking him to the moon, you can see, there is nothing here. And even when they take a picture from the moon, they will say, "This graphics mari irukudhu." Clear? This looks like a graphics. Pseudo light. Similarly, happiness and bliss is the subject matter of happiness, and bliss is the subject matter of Brahman only, reality only. Bliss is not anywhere else. Happiness and peace and bliss and security lies in the self only, not anywhere else. In order to know that, you need to go through the process of study, reflection, whatever it is. So all that we will do next week. Don't worry. I'm going to. There is a wonderful set of analysis that so intellectually convincing itself straight away. The Shastras have it. which is what he has touched upon it briefly, which I would take up and elaborate. For today, just remember this example. The moon, is there light in the moon? And you should ask this question when you are experiencing the moonlight. Don't ask this question. Don't ask this question. Ask this question when you are experiencing the on a full moon day, full moon Paurnami, go to the and go to the beach. Don't go. Let terrace go. அது கூட மாஸ்க் போட்டுன்னு போகணுமா தெரியாது எனக்கு. I don't know. இல்லையா? Go there, stand there and the moon. It's pleasant. It's cool. You can read a book in that light. You can read a book in the moonlight. And then remember this. What? There is no light in the. And then remember this. There is no light in the. There is no light in the moon. It is only reflected. It is only reflected light. Similarly, the happiness that I am seeking from the objects and beings of the world is equivalent to believing that moon has light. In the example order, I stop for today. The analysis is for next week. Reserving that for next week. The example is enough for today to give a conviction. And then there are some more analysis that I would take up in the next session. One of the very beautiful topic, the essence of the Upanishad. It's not the essence of the entire Upanishad, the essence of a particular conversation. The essence of that particular conversation between Yajnavalkya and Maitreyi, where he says, happiness that you see from the wife is the happiness from the self, he says. The happiness that you get from your children is the happiness from the self. The happiness that you get from the wealth is the happiness from the self. So all these that gives you happiness is reflected. Reflected means per se it has no happiness. Just as the moonlight. Just as the moonlight. With this, I conclude for today and Srikanth. Yes, Srikanth, solunga. Yes.
Yes, sir. Sir, earlier we have discussed about this cooperative endeavor.
Yes.
So cooperative endeavor, where in worldly purposes might be would have discussed about, which is very important aspect.
Correct.
But today we discuss about introvert in a case of self-analysis.
Yes.
So, to know about self.
Yes.
But I think we need to cross over first about these aspects and then get into.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to. Yes. Yes. See, the discussion about that cooperative endeavor and all that is to explain the point of having an exaggerated ego about one's own self. The one has an exaggerated notion about one's own self as I am the doer. I am the doer and I am better than the rest. I am greater than the rest. I am better than the rest. I am the doer. To offset this notion, we bring in the cooperative endeavor and we say without the cooperation of others and all that, you can never do whatever you are doing, cannot be done without the help of the others. Even if I have to talk on the Zoom, somebody has to create this computer, Somebody, some TNEB fellow has to ensure that electricity is supplied, the internet cable, the internet fellow has to ensure that uninterrupted supply. So even for this class, I can't say I am talking. Even for me to talk, the help comes from
Yes.
the entire cosmos is helping me to do what I am doing. It's not just a few. I'm saying a few which we can identify with, but in reality, I take the support of the entire cosmos, the entire totality to do what I am doing. Therefore, ignoring their support and assuming that I am the doer and having this arrogant notion that I am the doer is meaningless, is that context. In this chapter, what we are doing is we are going one step deeper. We are going one step deeper and saying that who are you in essence? What is the true nature of the world? What is the true nature of you? We are trying to discuss the original nature, the true nature, the fundamental nature. Since we are wanting to discuss that, we have gone into a discussion into a deeper level. So there it is at the level of the action and all that. Here it is about discovering one's own true nature. Now, when I say it is one's own true nature, if it is my nature, it has to be the same to you also. It can't be like my true nature is self and your true nature is ignorance. It can't be that. If my nature is self, it means your nature is also self only. Therefore, we are trying to go into the core of it and try to understand what is the reality. Are you able to follow, Srikanth, the difference?
It should not go other way. That I should. Not, there is no need to like depend on others for my.
No. It is not like that. It is not like that. The body, mind, and intellect is dependent. The body, mind, and intellect is dependent. No doubt about that. The body, mind, intellect component. The body is dependent on the vegetables outside for its survival. The mind is dependent. The intellect is dependent, interdependent. Here, this interdependency itself is not real. Interdependency itself is not real. Number two, the interdependency is for what purpose? What is the ultimate purpose behind all this? What is the ultimate purpose beyond all this is the inquiry here. So we have shifted the discussion to the higher level now. So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. With this, we conclude for today. Next week, again, I continue with the same topic because I said the example is discussed today. The analysis is reserved for next week. If at all there is a next week and if we meet. Yeah.